Hello. Oh, I forgot to put on music. Let's put on some music. Do you allow youtube.com to send you notifications? No. What? Okay. You know what? I think I'm gonna send out a tweet that I'm live. Hey there, Teufel. Yeah, today we're gonna work on clock time stuff. Clock stuff. So for Twitter, we're using T, but T doesn't work anymore, does it? Actually, let me T. T authorize. T, who am I? Boom. Asset connection returned. Certificate verify failed. Unable to get certificate CRL. Which T? Ruby. How did I ever use this thing? Like this? T420, of course. Is it any better? It's not. Gem info T. Is there a link? Site can't be reached. I mean, they're supposed to be GitHub pages. So github.io. Yes. View project on GitHub. 9 months ago. Farm version to 420. Nice. $146 issues. I'm building an alternative. I'm working on an alternative in Crystal. Nine months ago. Uh, external attachments. Man, I think this thing was fine. It's just that it started um having trouble. Update license MD, update readme MD. These people are suggesting garbage. I can already see it. The copyright stuff. Okay. I'm starting to think that the error that I'm getting is my fault. I added OpenSSL to the gem file and things started working again. This is a known issue with OpenSSL 360. Oh my god, which Ruby do I have? Holy shit, 322. I don't know. Brew install Ruby. Actually, that should be update, shouldn't it? Oh no. Please, dude, just give me a Ruby, please. I just want Ruby. Don't give me anything else. Just Ruby, and we're friends. Why am I losing LVM21? We don't know, but fine. Well, gem not found exception. So we reinstall T. No method error. Undefined method parse for class CGI. You know what? Let's look at the authoritative source. We want Ruby 343. Can I have this version be the main one? Hello, Fredo. Are we doing dynamic programming? No, I'm just trying to set up my thing that spams on social media, and I'm using a Twitter client written in Ruby, and this thing just doesn't want to work. It's like dealing with a Zig project, except it's Ruby, like in terms of breakages across different versions. How can I have this? Is keg only, which means that it's not sim linked. Fuck. So I need this. Okay. Where's my... Oh, it's config fish. Okay. 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 The fact that Jeremy is version 4 is suspicious, but fine. Which is not an executable format. Can this just be a Ruby? Uh, so this is usually user bean env, or is it just bean env? Which env? Is a bean env? Okay. Holy shit, it's working. Finally, man. Finally. Okay. T worked. Toot worked. LinkedIn unauthorized. Fuck LinkedIn. Okay. We're good. Jesus. Jesus, man. So much effort just to get a stupid Twitter client going. Okay, let me go get my tea. I'll be right back. Okay, what are we working on today? So we are trying to get client server synchronization work well as it should. And we got yesterday to the point where let me see if I can demo. this. Okay, let me close a few tabs that I have open. So there's a server running in here. Okay, let's run it again in here. So Zig build GUI. So where we got to is that now we basically make sure to synchronize messages across the server and client correctly. This last message failed to send because I was spamming too much. There's rate limiting. We received a rate limit message, but the client doesn't know how to parse rate limiting error messages for now. So that's why the client is kind of confused about what happened, but it is fine. You can read this in the server. Exceeded user action limit. So this triggers a rate limit failure response. In any case, so if we want to continue down this route and we want to make sure that this client is always perfectly in sync with the server, we need to be serious about timestamps, because we use timestamps to make sure that the server sends all the new stuff to the client. Long story short. So, so, well, to do that correctly, we need to agree on a timeline. We need to agree that the last event was seen at time X, and so we need to agree what time X is, and we need also to make sure that all these times are monotonic, that kind of stuff. So, yeah. Let's see, what were people saying earlier? I started looking at TLS, and I think Zig's STD has only client stuff for it. Oh, we cannot be a TLS server? Huh. I probably prefer to keep any web server behind a more battle-tested layer that removes the TLS if you're doing a web server. We are not doing a web server, though. We are doing TCP. You could still have a TCP, like you could still have TLS termination even though it is not a web server, it's just a TCP connection. I think we could still have a setup where you put something like Nginx in front. I believe that Nginx and similar tools support doing TLS termination on a TCP connection, and also then TCP pass through. But I think we should aim for not doing that. I mean, I could see that. I think we should allow for people to do that in case that somebody wants to be really secure, and in case that somebody, I don't know, for whatever reason wants to do that. But I also think that even if it is imperfect, we should have our own TLS, so that you don't have to necessarily deploy another piece of infrastructure as well. I'd love a Discord alternative. Is this the first stream on the project? No, it's not. I've been working on it for a while. So here you can see a delightful demo of what it looks like. So there's a ton of work that we need to do. Their TOEFL was referencing this. TLS for TCP. Where basically I was saying that we should enable TLS for TCP, because right now everything that we're doing is unencrypted, and I mean, we should have a smidge of encryption going on. And this is the simplified version where we just assume that the server generates its own key pair, and then a client does trust on first connection. What library do you use for the GUI? This one. If you're missing key generation, I would be fine with shelling out to a CLI tool as a temporary workaround. But then I don't know if a TLS server, like on a TLS connection, how clearly different is a server from a client. I would assume that in a TLS connection, at the end of the day, very different. Oh, well, then then this issue might be not as contributor ready as I assumed it would be. Or rather, the issue itself is contributor ready on our end. But then if there's like stuff that we would normally want to have from Zig and that is not implemented, then yeah, that is a blocker. I'll wait a bit more. Maybe also ask Andrew about it. But if that is the case, then we're gonna put a Zig blocker in here. Somebody was asking a lot of questions about the invite system. So I don't know if Imon Burns is looking to actually do contribute to this, but they were asking questions that made sense. Questions that somebody who is like thinking through the whole solution would be asking, and so maybe that's gonna be done. Um, anyway, let me sip a bit of my tea, and then we're gonna start. Okay. Where do we start? I think we should start with server initialization. So in init, we need to say this in init. We need to say, well, in init we need to do, so run here does init schema and then seed. What does seed do? Seed does the thing where we put in data. That makes sense. All right, there we go. Created now 2 milliseconds. There we go. So created. This cannot be 2 milliseconds. This needs to be 2 seconds. We also need to print this information out. You know what? I would even do it this way. Lux too. Okay, something like this. Financials and raises of Zig 2026 soon. I think the financials come near the end of the year. Like the 2025 financials were not that long ago, I think. And the fundraiser, at least the last time, went with those financials. So I would assume those things will be kind of close as of like the 2027 roadmap. Um, you're right. We should do that. Okay, so this is an AO timestamp. It's not a tick. I think we should try to turn this into a tick. Mm, okay, so that gives us a timestamp. How do you print a timestamp? Format number. Um, who? Format number? Hmm. I think we need I think we need to do something better to turn a date into a timestamp. Do we need to add a site also to our Awebo server just to print this one date? Well, no, we will want to print more dates in our Awebo server, so that is probably not a bad idea. Let's go to our zone file. Time to add site. Man, we're depending on Rager so much, huh? Please tell me that site works with new IO. Use a different format string. What do you mean? No, but I want to print the actual, like, a nice date. I don't want to print the row number. I want to format. I want to do format printing. D is for date and we print a date. Okay, so D doesn't stand for digit. Is that what you're saying? Okay. Hello, Calder. Okay. I think I might have understood what you meant. What happened here? Group task acknowledged cancellation but did not return error or canceled. This part I find suspicious. Group task acknowledged cancellation but did not return error canceled. Hmm. Okay, no, because it's so it did acknowledge. Okay, but we don't know what is it that group task was running. Unfortunate. Okay, no, this is not what I wanted to print. What do you use to stream to YouTube and Twitch at the same time? OBS. There is a thing called multiple output, which I believe is not even a third-party extension. I think it's part of OBS itself. So you just set up a secondary output location. I personally do Twitch as my main output and YouTube as my secondary output. And but you can also do it the other way around if you want. And in theory, you could also have a third and fourth output. Obviously, at some point, you'll hit limits based on your bandwidth, but you can have how many you want. If instead you want a service that does the fan out for you, so like you don't send multiple, basically to use your own connection less, there's a thing called restream.io. So you basically stream to restream.io, and then that thing will fan out to all the other services. But it is a paid service, understandably. Okay, so now it's time to try and make this work with Rocco Rager. So Zeit instant, Zeit local. Now in local. Print it out. Parse an instant from a string. So I guess we want to make a Zeit instant from our Zig instant. And then we want to format that. No module name Zide available within module root. You, my friend, are lying. Liar, liar. Of course, Zide has a thing that makes it not work with newest Zig. That is indeed unfortunate. Let's fix this temporarily. Please tell me that was it and there's nothing else. Okay, it seems that there's only it. There's only that. So then in here, you should be able to go to definition, init instant config, source. Now, Unix timestamp. So this is it. Unix timestamps in seconds. Okay. And then how we do printing? Out of curiosity, does instant have a format? It does not have format. Okay, so oh, dot time. Does this have a time? Yeah. I think this is a time. And I bet you the time has format. No, it does not have format. What? No, wait a second, wait a second. Is this test inside of... Oh, okay, this test is in the body of the definition, okay? From this, from that. There we go, format. Buff print. Okay, these are the custom formatting functions, which we might end up using. Maybe I'll use GoFMT. Yeah, okay, it's we have to use GoFMT. Also, can this arrow route? Oh, this can arrow route. Okay. Hello, Phantom. Okay, time cannot fail. GoFMT. GoFMT wants a writer. Oh. 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 Does this work with the SCDIO changes? It is not perfectly aligned with the SCD IO changes, and even then, I feel like it was not. So where is this used in buff print? Oh, So, and even then, even before that, it wasn't like it could do better, but yeah. I'm trying to think how I want to do this. Um, well, so if you want to put up a PR to Zeit that fixes the thing that I changed in my local cache, that could be nice because then we can reference that. But this has to happen before I push. So if you haven't done it by the time I need to push this commit, then I'll have to do it myself. As for the other stuff, uh, it's more complicated because you need to also interact with Rocco Ragers so that you can agree, like he can agree that your changes, that he wants your changes, because he might not. But that being said, I think they're non-controversial. Around when will you push? I have no idea. It's gonna be a while because I need to work on it. I have a meeting tonight, so I would say that it's gonna be probably at around 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m. maybe. Uh, and otherwise, it's gonna be around probably midnight or tomorrow. So the other changes which I would put in a separate, yes, the other changes which I would still put in a separate PR. I wouldn't do one PR with everything, but the other changes would be to basically support format being a turning doing using GoFMT to uh, produce a formatter so that you can stuff a formatter inside of a print. Um, because right now this is not something that I can stuff inside of a print, and there's like no reason for me not to be able to do that. So I'm trying to decide how I want to do this. I could write a wrapper function. I guess I could implement the formatter myself. Actually, time. When do you think it's a good time to bubble up versus panic? As I understand, it's better to bubble up if you're writing a library and let the user handle it. Yes. But how is your policy regarding this? I noticed that in your server implementation, you panic when in the database abstraction. Well, because the database abstraction is not fully a library. Like if I were to make a reusable database library, then I would not panic ever. Um, but for me, even though database is a subcomponent of my server, I still consider it part of my application. And so sometimes as a shortcut, I panic. The answer is that I haven't fully well designed panicking, like what to do with in my application. It's non-trivial. So I decided to not try and do the like try to handle in the application right away because I wasn't sure what the scope of the application would be. Like there's a lot of things that I have yet to understand to learn as I'm doing it. So I decided to postpone. And I'm a bit in a bit of a deliberate way right now. Like every time there's there's something there. There's an out of memory error that I don't want to bubble. I just right away. So the reason why I'm right away instead of letting the error bubble is because in some other places, um, out of memory cannot be part of the error set, and so I'm just trying to make sure that it doesn't reach there. And it's sometimes it's faster to just at the source of the error rather than panic at the source of the error rather than um, let everything bubble and then handle it afterwards. It's more concise. So I would say that what I'm doing right now is not uh, the best way of doing it. But but you already understand the rule of thumb. If it's a library, you don't panic. You report errors. You only, I guess, you can panic if you can panic, especially you can assert. So you can panic, especially in debug builds or safe builds, if you know that there was a programming error. Like if somebody's misusing your library, and you know that a given situation is 100% a programming error. But for example, out of memory is not a programming error. It's the system running out of memory. So that you want to bubble up for sure. And other errors, for example, generally speaking, you also want to bubble up instead of panicking. But the reason why I'm saying this is because then you might conclude that it is categorically wrong to panic in a library, and I would say no. It is fine to panic in a library for guaranteed unrecoverable situations, such as programming errors. That's essentially what an assert is. So, for example, let's say that your library is a data structure and you're implementing some kind of array, and and you have a function where somebody can ask you for item at slot X. If somebody wants to, and then if somebody asks you for item at slot X, and then at runtime you discover that the data structure is empty, or in any case that's an out of bounds access, then you could design an API that returns you an error when you try to do out of bounds access, or there might be some situations where you want to consider that a programming error instead, and so you want that to be an assert that trips. There probably are better examples of what I just described that like are more semantically meaningful, but you get the idea. So in general, you want to bubble up, but panics, but especially assertions, which are not exactly panics, especially assertions, do make sense in libraries for programming errors. Mm. In case of a web server, you should not panic, right? You don't want your web server crashing because of an especially since usually there are array allocators scope to each request. Yeah, in general, you wouldn't want to crash. There are like arguments. There's like this thing where sometimes people that do web servers at like a big scale, they prefer to crash and have the orchestrator restart the program. So in some places, like crashing is done in a more like in kind of a deliberate manner, but they also do that under the assumption that that the server software is imperfect, and so like they assume that the server will have programming errors in it. I would say that in Zig, generally speaking, you kind of aim for something better. So you aim for having a server that doesn't have programming errors in it. I'm mainly referencing a discussion that I had with somebody that works at Google a while ago, where basically they were saying that they want their Go servers to crash right away because then they get restarted in a known good state, rather than trying to recover it from certain errors in a in some ways more graceful manner. But then at that point, you are more likely to be preserving corrupted state. Again, this is all based on the idea that this guy was working on under the assumption, which I guess that was the thing that everybody maybe that was the reality, and in general, like the policy that like the culture that they had at the company, where they were saying, yeah, we should expect our production services to have potentially bugs in them, and so we need to have a policy that accounts for that being the case, and in a sense tries to do the best under that circumstance, which is, I mean, it's reasonable if you think about it. Like if it's a big company and a bunch of people work on stuff, like bugs happen. So in their case, they have important services used by a ton of people. So for them, like making sure that there are no web server, or like minimizing the possibility of web servers running around with uh, with corrupted data is not entirely wrong. I don't remember the specific philosophy at either of my Google teams. This was a discussion with a guy that works. Um, it's basically the Q&A of this talk. Uh, hmm. Oh, it was this one. It was this talk, but I don't remember. I don't remember the speaker's name. It's one of these talks. Not this guy. That's me. This one. It was this talk. Um, you can, if you're curious about what I'm specifically referring to, look at this part here. Retrieving. This is like recovering from panics. I asked this question, and and here you can hear the reply that the speaker gave me. Hmm. No problem. I actually don't mind these format printing. You know what? This might be overkill. I think like a format of this kind, more specifically like this kind, I think we have this in the standard library because we have all the HTTP crap. We must have a date format thingy in the standard library. Or maybe no, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Yeah, kind of unfortunate. Hmm. No. Zeit is killing me. So after all this trouble that we went through, so here's what we're doing. We're just printing the shitty. We're just doing the shitty printing at this point. I don't know what to do, man. Uh, I mean, what do you want me to do? Okay, important. How we can deal with small NTP clock jumps. Oops. Oh, we're missing the. There you go. Hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of breaking changes, but listen, this is like this is good pain. Um, this is pain that is 100% worth it. The new IO stuff is gonna be great. It's a huge improvement. I mean, maybe this is kind of a bit too like self congratulatory, but this is probably one of the most interesting designs of async IO that you can find in a programming language. So uh, bear with the pain. It's gonna be worth it. If the whole design pans out, we are not 100% there, but what we have so far, it seems like very promising. Um, can we multi-threading in Zig? Yes, you can. And now you can also do that async, so it's even better. Um, okay, so we have returned to printing the shitty date, but what can you do? So uh, is it using vtables already? 016, yes. There's the IO interface, and everything goes through it. And there's one chunky boy vtable that does a lot of things. Okay, so uh, so server initialization now is correct, and now we recover creation time. So if we look in settings, we have created. Let's call this epoch, or like server epoch. Epoch, I think it's fine. Okay. That means that I also need to recreate the database. Fuck, dude, what's wrong? Okay, I was referencing it. Okay, in run, fine. Server run. Okay, I think we're happy now. FYI, Awebo sounds really vulgar in Spanish. What does Awebo? What's the vulgar Spanish expression? Yeah. In any case, Awebo in I guess at least I don't think this is like unique to the English speaking world, but it's it's one of the things that are centered around English speaking people, but then it's not like strictly that. But if you search on YouTube Awebo, then you will find this, which is the ptarmigan bird making Awebo noises. So it's the bird noises. And our logo is going to be, I don't know exactly what, but we're keeping the red eyebrows. Those are hilarious. No matter what, we keep those. As a temporary thing, we have this, which is a Ziggy, a Webo from Crypto Code. It's hilarious. It's so stupid. Uh, but it works. Yeah, Codeberg has sometimes has trouble as of late. I don't know. You've never seen a Webby. This is a Webby. Yeah, CryptoCon made it. Yeah, good shit. Good shit. Anyway, um, okay, so we now the server knows its creation date. A huevo. Oh yeah, which can mean hell yeah, but it references huevo, testicles. Oh, but huevo means also egg, right? So you're saying that in this sense, huevo is known to mean testicles. It's also kind of surprising as an expression because a huevo means cool, hell yeah, but you're saying testicles. Interesting. Usually in Italian, things like expressions of that kind that involve testicles, they tend to be about annoying things. Uh, there's one in Italian where you basically say that something was so annoyingly disappointing. So it's not just annoying, but it's like disappointing. It's like a horrible pun. Somebody gave you the most horrible of puns, and then you say that you felt like your testicles detached from you and started rolling down on the floor. And that's a way of saying that you are like extremely disappointed. There's an expression for that. Huh. The phrase is with a, which makes the connection click. I see the A does that. That is a huevo. Huevo. That is interesting. Okay. I'm trying to think of an equivalent in Italian. I don't think we have an exact equivalent in Italian. We have our own version of this stuff, but it's funny. Okay, in any case, a huevo. Well, you know what? That's cool by me. That's good by me. The dirtier, the better. Um, so what else do we want to do? Name, epoch. Um, so here's another thing that we want to do now. On server creation, we have our um, epoch. On server start, so when you start the server, now we need to look into the database and fetch the latest ID that we generated with our clock. That also means that we need to set up a clock. This is all part of the clock setup procedure. So let's do the initial version, I guess, without the search, where we just set up a clock under the assumption that the database is empty. So in run, we're doing state init. Do we give state a clock? I think that is a good idea. So state has also a clock. I think this clock ID thing I'm gonna just call clock. Okay, so now we have a clock. Any programming errors in here that we know of? Not summary. Watch. Missing start field clock. Right, set is so undefined, and then in init, we need to set the clock. Interesting. Latest ID. Latest ID is gonna be 0. U64, I guess. Select count star from users. Select count star. And can we do also max ID and max updated? Actually, what does this return if if the table is empty? Now I'm curious. One. Oh, right, because users is never empty, but messages is empty. Okay, so if I do this, users, what do users have? Oh, the way I have this now. Oh, this is okay. This is gonna change probably in the future, but we have created, updated roles. Okay, let's do created and updated. 100. That's fine. From messages, there's no created column. Okay. No such column updated. Oh, because it's updated last. origin channel author. Oh shit. Okay, let's do that in channels. Oh fuck, but channels is not empty. Channels has stuff in it. Okay, you know what? Delete from channels. So we got 0, and then we got null. So you get null when the value is not present. Interesting. Okay, I guess that's how it works. That makes sense. Give me a second. I'll be right back, and then we continue. So we want to grab the latest ID from the database. So well, we can code it in the init function. I'll be right back. I'm back. Uh, hey, Christoph, why did you choose Flow Control as the editor? Uh, why did I? I learned how to use Helix a while ago, and Helix is fine, but Flow has some interesting ideas with regards to, for example, having the editor where you can click with your mouse and interact with things by clicking on them, which is nice. Uh, and Helix doesn't really do that. Like the other editors don't really have this concept. I'll show you another one. I'm going to put my cursor here after the semicolon, and then I'm going to scroll up. And you can see that I'm not dragging the cursor up. If you were to do this in Helix or Vim, you would see, well, NeoVim as well, you would see the cursor being dragged up as you go up. And so you would lose the old position where you left the cursor. In this case, now I'm going to start typing. I start typing, and the cursor is like the view scrolls back to where I was before, and we see everything. So this is nice. This is just one example. So you can use Flow with normal mode, like it's same in it's non-model. By default, Flow is non-model, so you can use it as if it were like Sublime or VS Code. And then if you like model, there's Vim and there's Emacs and there's Helix. Helix is not complete, but it's usable. So once these other layers will be more complete, then it will be very comfy. Right now, I'm kind of dealing with all the things that are missing in this layer, but I'm optimistic. And it's written in Zig. So that means also that in the future, if I want to change something, it's more likely I'm going to be able to, rather than what I would be able to do with Helix, for example. That being said, Helix is a good editor, so I don't I have nothing bad to say against Helix. This is Imon Burns. Hello. I've been posting comments on device system issue. Yeah, for the two new requests you mentioned in your latest comment, will they both need to know about the version info since they are sent before authenticate? I wouldn't worry about that. Right now, there is no versioning of the API implemented at all. Versioning is something that we can worry about the day that two Awebo servers exist at the same time. I think our job right now is to make sure that at least one Awebo server can exist. So as long as there's only one, you can always tell people that they need to update their client. So no, I wouldn't worry about versioning. I would have the the way I would do it is that um, invite info literally has just the invite code in it, and then the reply has, it can be a failure or a success. And if it's a success, then right now it should only contain server name because we don't have much else. In the future, we'll probably have more, but for now, server name is enough. And then um, the sign up request from the client should literally just contain the invite ID, username, and password. And that's it. And I wouldn't worry about anything else. Nullable int. What do you not like? What do you not like about this? Hello. Except the type U64 found I64. Eh. Okay, so we look at the ultimate thing in users. Then we load settings. Then we load channels. hmm. Hmm. I think this thing that I'm about to do kind of would benefit from metaprogramming. But I guess this is fine. So this is from channels. This is max. Let's look at the schema of channels. There's ID created and updated. And then we'll literally do the same. Except that this is 0 and this is 1. Okay, so we load also from channels. And then we do the same for messages. Messages right now don't have anything of that sort. I guess it's max ID because we're using these IDs for messages. God damn it. Okay, let's do max ID. I think messages should have updated. Origin. Isaac. Hey, what is the DB adapter that you're using? I'm using something very thin. I'm using Carl Sagan's ZQ Lite. So this is not very abstracted. It's very bare bones. Well, maybe bare bones is too strong of a definition, but oh, you're on YouTube. I'll send it on YouTube. So this guy, and then I built a smidge of abstraction over it, which I blogged about in here. I will probably build some more abstraction in the future, but for now, this is it. Okay. So updated integer, origin integer. Oh, there you go. So with this, we are grabbing the latest ID. Right now, we're not loading any other uh, piece of information. So this should be all of it. Not a norm, nobody wants a norm. Um, how does it compare to Squirrel in Gleam? If it's the same idea, I I, I actually wouldn't mind eventually implementing something like that. It's just that right now I feel like I'm not ready to tackle parsing SQL syntax. It's I want to take a break from writing parsers for a bit, and I would like to finish the parsers that I've already started before embarking on yet another parser. But yeah, having something that parses queries and provides you type safety around them would be pretty cool. Uh, yeah, I mean, if you're describing it as not an ORM, then I'm guessing it's probably fairly similar to Squirrel. I should try writing what I proposed in the Zig thread. Go for it. I don't remember what you proposed. Do you have a link to it? Like, if you want feedback, I don't remember at all what it is that you mentioned. So, but if you want quick feedback, let me know. Yes. Oh, right. It's related to the SQLite stuff. I see. SQLite server import queries. Server begin dot messages. Oh, like this query. You mention a query by name, and then you specify the argument. Uh huh. Um, Draw iterator next. So no, these are not needed in reality. At least given how SQLite works, because SQLite has its own buffer that it's reusable. What you want is kind of the inverse. You want that whenever you try to access, like you actually want getters. I think for these guys, and you want the default getter to also require an allocator because you need to copy these guys out. So in the current API that I made, my abstraction has that text wants an allocator so that it dupes stuff, and then you have text no dupe. And the the uh, lower level database API doesn't have that, which is annoying. So it's actually fairly easy to forget that you need to copy a piece of text and like a string, and then you end up with garbage memory. In my case, I'm doing the opposite. Like I'm doing uh, copy by default and then opt out of copy if you want to. Um, anyway, this is all well and good. Personally, this part I would do even more seriously. I think that what I would want is also to I would like an SQLite server to also accept to also be initialized not only on queries but also on a known schema, and then I would validate that this query works with the provided schema. Obviously, if there's stuff like inner joins and renames and stuff, then you kind of have to do, you know, a good job at analyzing those queries. But I think that that is also another important piece of the puzzle to have. Alternatively, which I did not want to do, but that would actually totally work, that would mostly be handled by preparing the queries. Oh, preparing a query gives you that. You know what? I've been lazy and I didn't prepare and I didn't set up query preparation for any of my queries. So if you do prepare the query, you get that from the database. So it's not, but so that means that it's not going to be, so you catch that then fast, but at runtime, not at build time. Well, you could have like a test thing that checks that all the preparations succeed. So if preparing a query tests it against the database, then it's actually good. I didn't think about that. That means that it's way less work that you have to do yourself. So you there's this idea that you can piggyback on the running database to obtain feedback on things, which I don't know. It felt like a shortcut to me that I didn't like cutting corners, but maybe it's not as much of a corner cutting technique that I assumed it would be. Okay. That is cool. Now, how does this mapping work? You do this in order? Oh, but also you don't have type information, unfortunately, right? There's no way of knowing beforehand if this is actually good mapping or not. Integration tests. Uh, hey, thank you for the Prime sub. I'll go with Jim, as I said the other time. Jim Stevers. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your Bezos bucks. So, Hmm. I don't know if I would be ready to. Oh, J.M. Stevers. I see, or Johnny. Okay. Well, thank you for letting me know. Um, that makes sense. J.M. Anyway, thank you. I don't know if I would want to jump into this abstraction right away. It seems like heavier than what I already have. It's not that big of a deal. You know what? I think that when I switch to prepared statements, then I would have to double check how my stuff would need to change. And then if the delta between how what I have right now would have to change, and this is not particularly big, then why not? This is good stuff. I agree with you that this is good stuff. Yeah, I probably should switch to prepared statements sooner than later. It's definitely something that I need to put on the list of things to do. Okay, so latest ID. So right now we should have loaded the latest ID, which means that with this and the epoch, we can start the clock. So clock is gonna be dot init. It wants epoch and now. Epoch is gonna be settings dot epoch, and now is gonna be uh from ID. Don't joke. We have from ID. Why am I not allowed to do dot from ID? I'll do from ID no matter what. There you go. Expected arguments. Oh, it needs also IO, of course. Well, actually, does it need IO? You know what? Now that I think about it, does it really need IO? It doesn't really need IO. You know what needs IO? Um, this guy needs IO. Well, maybe after clock. And thank you. Unused function parameter. Oh yeah, because we're doing clock.io, but we don't want to do clock.io. We want to do just IO. Okay. Incompatible types. Well, actually, this now function needs to go away because this doesn't exist anymore. You know what? Both these global and this function need to be replaced. So goodbye. Oh man, and now we need to fix all references. Okay, set UDP. That's gonna be state dot clock dot tick.io dot. Well, that's it. I think tick should give us an ID. Yeah. So this is gonna be state.clock.tick.io. That's it. State clock tick.io. There is no state in here. Run client manager. Oh, this is bad. In here, we don't have access to the server. Oh, guess what? We do. Oh, that's a defer. You know what? Let's leave it at 0 for now. System time. Now 2 seconds minus clock epoch. Incompatible types I64 and U64. I can try to incast one of the two, but I know it's going to be a bitch and it's not going to let me. Yeah. Okay, let's do it like this. I use sleep. Expected 2 arguments. Oh. Which is? What's the second argument? Sleep duration clock. Oh. Awake. I probably want io.sleep something else. No, I don't want that. I think there's another type of sleep. No, never mind. Okay, next problem. Okay, fuck it. I64. You happy? Are you happy now? Are you happy? So now this is an I64. No incast necessary. Stupid. Goddamn stupid epoch. Okay, so we build now. So now we're using the clock for some stuff. Let's see how it goes. We need to reset the server. Okay, server has been created. I think the start stuff should tell us also what's the clock at. Okay, let's look at clock. What do we have in clock? We have timestamp, and I think we should also have an FMT. So format tick. I think we should print it as an ID. Oh, you know what? We could just print it as an ID. Or you know what? We could do it like this. I think this is enough. Or ID colon or ID parentheses. Or with curlies? No, fuck curlies. Yeah. Yeah. So that means that in server run, in the startup procedure, loading database, server log.info, last ID, last ID generated is going to be state.clock.now. Zero zero. That is correct. How's the project coming along? Hello, Chris. How's it coming along? Well, pretty well. We're doing unique ID generation, monotonic ID generation for synchronizing client and server because we're still building the infrastructure to be able to synchronize messages on the client. But it's going fine. It's just a matter of doing the work so far. There are no like troubling things yet. There will be probably in the future as we try to, make history scrolling nice. That part is always annoying, I think, but so far so good. What was then the thing you wanted from outdated Zite? Fix an error in 016 and go from T working in print? No, I wouldn't. I ignore the second one. I think that if you make a patch that makes Zite work on 016, that would be awesome. But be careful that you need to like run its tests because there's a few things that need to change. Like Zite still uses a bunch of things that are like gone from Zig. Now that I think about it, though, you know what I didn't do is check PRs. Maybe there's a PR that already has this stuff. Updates from Zig IO Apocalypse. Maybe somebody already did that. Oh, this passes IO around. Oh, I think that this might be it. This PR. Maybe there's already one PR that does that. November 2025. I'll make a branch and move this PR to it. Nothing ever happened. Womp womp. Are you going to refactor this into a UED library for ZigSTDlib? No, I won't. Also, look at what I do in here, which is a super debatable design choice. If your clock skews backwards, we sleep. So I sleep the server the thing. Well, I essentially sleep most of the server. I'm not sleeping the entire server, but I'm preventing ID anything from getting an ID until the time has passed. So that's not a very portable choice, I think. By the way, I might change my mind, but I just want to experiment with this. Okay, what were we doing before this? We were printing the last generated ID. Okay, let's add some stuff. So let's run the client. Instant crash. What happened? Tick crashed. Integer does not fit in destination type. That makes no sense. We should also print the epoch. Server epoch is this. Last generated ID is 00. So this is good. How is this causing an integer overflow? Is it me or is there something sus going on? Oh, you know why? I know why. Because here I'm doing the awake timer, and the awake timer is not real time. And in init, I bet you that I'm doing real. Yeah. So here I would have to do real for now. Okay, so this now works because now I'm using comparable dates. What we could do is sample the current real-time clock and then proceed using the monotonic clock. But like, will the monotonic clock stay in sync with the real-time clock? Eh. I guess I would need to occasionally try to readjust. Okay, in any case, now if we restart, this ID should give us something. Yeah. 5520. The 0 is correct. The 552 is suspicious. The 552 is definitely suspicious. What? Why? That's not it. Hmm. Hmm, 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 hmm. That surprises me. Let's reset the database. This server epoch is suspicious. No, it's not. Okay, it's because I'm not doing 2 seconds, I guess, when printing this. I should print this with a 2 seconds. Yeah, let's do 2 seconds when printing that instead of D. Or rather, regardless, the D is just unnecessary. So there we go. So when I run the server, then yeah, they match. Latest generated ID is 0. Sent one message. Run server. NDD was generated 17 seconds later. Have 17 seconds passed between when I created the server and I sent the message? Uh, yeah, kinda. I think this is reasonable. That is fine. Good luck, Scott. Okay, so this is not bad. So what do we want to do next? We have the server epoch. Uh, what do we do next? Hmm, we're doing all of these fine. Uh, Mm. So with this, now we can have the client send an ID to the server, and the server can use that to sync. And we probably should start by synchronizing users. So that the client has information about all users. Okay. So that also means that we need client persistence, though, because for what we're doing to make sense, the client, so for that to make sense, the client needs to store locally user information. So that means that we need to set up um, SQLite also in the client. Right now, the client is not doing any kind of good persistence. It's doing like very shitty persistence. It's essentially only persisting server credentials. Yeah. And also, I think that admin should be 01. So in it, we need to make IDs for all the things in here that we add in, where is it? In seed. Like we need to make a clock essentially. Unfortunately, here we're making a clock very late, I think, because we're only worrying about this stuff in. Wait, where am I? Seed. Yeah, here we're making a clock. Well, sorry, a Zig timestamp. And then we're doing epoch. We should. I think we should create an actual clock out of this. So let's do this up top. Epoch is going to be this, and then clock is going to be awebo.clock init epoch and from ID 0. And then we need to start using this clock. Oh, and we need this to be sequence. Yeah. Okay. They're probably going to be more in the future, so might as well. Okay, so now we have the clock. So now whenever we do these queries, we do them right. So that means that when we create admin, okay, what's the scheme for users? Created and updated. So we need to make a tick for both of these fields. So 00 have to become question mark, question mark. And this is going to be like this. Clock.tick. Okay. And then Beatrice doesn't have timestamps. Oh, where's like channel creation? I see. I didn't put so creation of a moderator role also is in here, but it cannot be in here anymore. So we need to move this here. Okay. And then same with channel creation. Yeah. Okay, so far so good. So channels. ID and then created and updated. Okay. So these guys. So we basically want this down here. This is gonna be ugly. Although you know what, updated can be 0. If it was never updated, we can leave it 0. Actually, I think we should leave it 0 at that point. You know what? Yeah, I'm starting to change my mind with regards to updated. This should be 0. That means that we can do this then, which is I think overall better and also makes more sense. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. I think that's it. Okay, this should be good. This should be good. Mm. So if we remove the database and recreate it, now when we're on the server, this is wrong. God damn it. Mm. These numbers are bad. These numbers are fucking bad. They're way too big. What the heck? Why is tick so bad? I see no mention of epoch. We're missing a okay. I'm missing a subtraction somewhere. Hmm. Why are we giving big numbers to stuff while earlier we were not giving big numbers to stuff? What's going on? Server init. We're using. It's just that we're using a different clock, and is this not a good clock? This is the epoch. This is from ID 0, so this is all well and good. I think I'm doing something wrong here. Now epoch. Now epoch. Yeah. So these are fine. Now counter plus equals 1. Yeah. And then we do ID. Then what it is now? What is it now? Now is this guy, which we set to 0. And yet we're sending over the wire complete garbage. Like, look at this guy. This guy is complete garbage. Huh. I think we need some extra logging. Hmm. admin ts equals 1 as id 10. That is already wrong, because that implies that 1 second has passed. This implies that 1 full second has passed between. I mean, not 1 full second, but okay. You know what? It might be. It might be it. Maybe it's an unfortunate coincidence. I would expect this to be 0, 1 normally. Okay, so we were just. Okay, what happened is that the second clicked between this print and this print, which is kind of likely. I would expect these to happen most of the time. Yeah, but what the fuck is this? Hmm. I feel like there's something wrong with my bitcast. Is this bitcast not legitimate? Oh, you know what am I doing? I'm okay. I see what's going on. Counter goes first, time goes second. I think that's my mistake. 256. That's also weird. 256. That means that the most significant bit of count, the most significant bit is set. I think my bitcast is the problem. But at the same time, what the fuck? Okay, so that means that the in-memory representation of these things is not at all what I was expecting, and it's tripping me. I was expecting to see something comparable to Epoch, and that's not what Zig is giving me. So the fact that 1 becomes 256 is well, not what I wanted. So I guess instead of bit casting, we can do this. I mean, it's unfortunate though, because bit casts are good. Fuck. So from ID, that means that we. Hmm. Okay, from ID, that means that we. Or to ID. So to ID, I guess we want to do something like return um, t dot time shifted to the left bit size of counter plus or we can even do or. T.counter. And then return. Yeah, to be fair, maybe this is better than the bait cast because this is at this point this struct doesn't even need to be packed. This can just be a struct then. So from ID, it means dot time is ID shifted right bit size of counter, and then counter is we need to mask. There we go. Add truncate. Accepted type U56, found U64. Incast. Or, well, but I want to truncate. What? Okay, what does add truncate do? Let's see. The function always truncates significant bits of the integer. So we don't want that. We want to truncate. We want basically a truncate that removes the least significant bits, not the most significant bits. To give it the semantics that I had in mind. You have to truncate after the shift. Ah, I see. That's fair. Oh, okay, let's see how this goes. Let's say degenerated 00. Again, this is wrong again. Here we still see garbage, but is it because we needed to okay, we just needed to reload this. That is what I was expecting. Okay, so now this is correct. Now this is correct. This is okay. 。 This is okay. 。  . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 .
。
This is a lie. Okay, so now we have now we know what's a tick, and why do we even need a tick at all then? Well, no, we keep it locally in memory, I guess, but anyway, okay, so this is fine. Hmm. Then what are we missing next? No, we need to diagnose what's going on with our queries when we're loading the server. Here we are loading. Here, this is not good. This is not doing well. This is not going well. Sorry. So state init. Here at the end, we create the clock, passing in settings epoch and passing from ID latest ID. I guess we want to see what the latest ID is. Okay, let's see what happens now. Oh, we get a build error. Database is logged. Okay. Yeah. Latest ID 0, ID 00. Okay, so this has somehow failed. Oh, you know why? Because we're missing. Is max multi-arity or is it? Does it accept? Oh, it's multi-arity. Awesome. So we can do these. No, whoops. Because we were not considering that the fact that latest ID was already bigger. Fuck. Okay, we haven't solved it yet though. There might be some other places that we need to look into. No, no, no. So what the heck? What the heck? What the heck is going on here? For example, there's just no way that this guy here fails. Like users will have a user already. You need a mask just truncate. You're right. For the second one, you're right because we want to truncate bigger thingies. So yeah, thank you. Good point. So why is the database giving us garbage? I don't get it. You had the mask in 0, not 0xff. Oh, but is this what's causing my trouble? I don't think it is. Is it? Oh, it is. So I was rendering this wrong. Okay, so that is now correct. 04 is probably the thing, because we create one user and then we create 3 channels. So 04 is going to be the latest ID. Yeah, that's how normally a server should start. Okay, we fixed all our weirdness. Uh, that's awesome. That is indeed awesome. Also, yeah, I think the Bitcast Dream was cool, but it does suffer from endiness issues. So, um, as cool as it might be, it's better doing things this way. Yeah. Maybe keeping it a packed struct is a good idea. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. Anyway. Um, okay, so we have IDs. We have uh, basic infrastructure around them. Next thing that we want to do is, well, we were using those IDs to give IDs and other similar things to items. I think that I need to review now my database tables, because some of those database tables have a created column that basically should become the ID using our IDs. And I think that I was just getting lazy and letting the database pick IDs for us. But now that we have this clock ID stuff, we can start getting more serious with database tables. And then we need to start getting more serious with database tables. And then what else? And then huh. How did you become proficient in low-level programming? When not to use mutexes, pointers, pass by reference versus pass by value. When did you become proficient in low-level programming? I don't know. It's a fairly recent thing, I guess. In university, I didn't do any lower level stuff. Almost any lower level stuff. I did bioinformatics. We did the only like the lowest level thing that I did was implement some string comparison algorithms in C, because that's how like DNA processing works. Well, sequencing in general, it's not just DNA. But I guess vaguely speaking, DNA is the main use case. Um, then then I didn't do anything in that regard. I was lucky because I was working at Redis Labs, or actually even before Redis Labs, I needed to make a Redis extension, which requires you to write to generate like a dynamic library, a DLL. And I gained some experience there, but like I wasn't proficient at all at that point. I don't know. I just started using Zig. I like Zig is not magic in the sense, it's not the silver bullet that will make you super powerful just by virtue of touching it, but it does make systems programming very accessible. So if you pick up Zig and then you just take your time to interact with the community and learn things bit by bit, maybe you dream to make your own music player, but you're not going to be able to make a music player like day one. It takes time, because an actual music player has a bunch of things going on in the time at the same time. But if you like limit yourself to a specific like subset of what makes a music player, and you tackle it bit by bit as you learn, so like as part of your learning process, then you can definitely learn a lot of things and become proficient over time. I don't think I would have learned remotely as many things if I had picked C, for example. So I think that Zig helps a lot. It's not magic. You still have to put in the work, but you can get a bigger bang for your buck with Zig than with C, in my experience. It kind of was my cheat code for learning systems programming. When not to use mutexes? Well, if you don't have multiple threads, then don't use mutexes. They're useless. Um, if you can avoid contention, if you can split your workload in a way that different threads don't have to synchronize with one another, then you won't need mutexes. Um, there might be cases where, depending on how you structure your code, in some ways you will need a mutex. Instead doing it in a different way, you can get away with atomic operations. So that might be a case where you want to avoid a mutex, but it gets confusing pretty quickly. Like you have to benchmark because your like mental model of how mutexes work versus atomics might not match reality at all. I will say that these things are presented to you normally in horrible ways, like atomics and mutexes. The whole way they are presented completely misleading. So you don't have a good handle on the mechanics. You just you have to benchmark because you don't understand how they work. Pass by pointers. When to use pointers, when not to use pointers. I'm assuming you mean that pointers then relates to pass by reference versus pass by value. Generally speaking, in Zig, you want to do pass by value for things that are not too big. So if something is like a struct that contains a pointer and a number, so that would mean, what is it, 16 bytes? 8 bytes for the pointer, 8 bytes for the integer. Then pass by value. As you start going up from there, you will want to start passing by reference. Because you, for example, the worst case would be that you have a struct that has a big array in it. So like not a slice, but like the array data directly in it. So you have this struct that is, I don't know, like 200 kilobytes big, 200 bytes big. You don't want to copy that around everywhere because it doesn't fit in registers, and so it causes a lot of extra work for the computer. So in that case, you will want to pass by reference, by pointer. It used to be that Zig would do this transformation for you automatically. So like you could write a function that accepts something by value, and then Zig would automatically turn that into a reference by pointer. But then people discovered issues with that approach, so Zig doesn't do that anymore. And you have to do it yourself correctly. I'm not used yet to doing this correctly because I'm used to just letting Zig do its magic. But I have to think about it more now. Messing. Getting back my password for this piece of shit website was a journey. I'm sorry. So with this, we're good. What do we do next? Right, as I said, I need to redesign the database a little bit now and be more serious about these clock counters. I need to remove Zeit because Zeit doesn't work. So no more Zeit. Goodbye. Right. So the to-dos now are these. So I'm going to write them here. And in a sense, these are all part of advanced message synchronization. So we have done clock IDs. So now we need to do client SQLite, client SQLite persistence, and then client. Actually, it doesn't have to be SQLite necessarily. I have to look at how persistence works right now because I might like, I need to look at client persistence in general. Like it needs to be improved. Should it be SQLite at all or not? That is a great question. I actually don't know. Maybe? Probably yes. It doesn't really hurt to use SQLite, does it? Well, then client should remember the last ID, which then should go into the authentication request. Like the client should communicate to the server what is the last thing that it saw. And then what else after that? Well, and then we'd have to look at the server tables. We need to review the server SQLite schema. So let's imagine that we've done all these things. Once these things are all done, then we can start having this client tell the server what was the last ID that it saw, and the server can use that to compute a delta update. So these are the prerequisites for getting to delta updates, because right now we cannot do delta updates because we don't know what the delta is. Client doesn't keep track of anything, so it still a little bit all over the place in that sense, but um but we're getting there. Yeah. Hey, crypto code. I once encountered a system that used SQLite as the protocol, literally sent small DBs. Wow. That seems kind of overkill to me. Like, what the fuck? That is. That reminds me, it's like you make a like a handgun that instead of shooting bullets, it shoots rockets, right? So it's a handgun, but then the projectile itself also has propulsion. And it's like, sure, you can do it. That's like that's that's what this thing seems to me. um, but yeah, I guess we'll see where this clock leads us. And this is gonna be funny. This is really gonna be funny. How much do you care about consistency of persistence between client and server and client? Do you need full CRDTs, or is it okay if ordering is sometimes inconsistent? Do you need full CRDTs? Um, CRDT as a concept is overkill for what we did here. I do care a lot about consistency between server and client. The client doesn't really do too much persistence. The client will cache locally some state, but it is expected that the client doesn't really persist much. It only like it does it. There's no requirement for the client to persist anything. The local caching is done so that basically the there is less traffic between server and client when a client reconnects, and so that the user can see something faster. So the idea is that you open the client, you see the cache data, and if the cache data is not too old, then you will also see quickly, maybe the 1-2 messages that are new that came in the meantime. You will see them come in, um, instead of seeing like a fully blank loading screen every time you reopen the application. So you do want some caching locally, but it's not persistence in the sense that there's a copy of the state of the server in the client, and then there's like synchronization systems that like synchronize everything. We don't do that, at least for now. I don't know if I will ever want to do that. I think there's like too many downsides with this approach. Or rather, sorry, I don't mean to say that this approach is inherently wrong, because that's what, for example, Telegram does. Telegram keeps the full message history in the client, and I think that makes total sense. I think that totally makes absolutely total sense. I do think that it makes way less sense for an application like Awebo. Um, to give you a like inverse example, um, Zulip does, as far as I'm aware, full history synchronization, and every time I open it to join the ZSF Zulip, it takes forever to load. Honestly, I think I prefer a loading screen. Discord will show all the state on waking up from sleep. It's always annoying not knowing if it has actually updated yet or not. Yeah, but that's because Discord is not good at showing you its current state. Like an application, like a correctly implemented application like this would be able to show you the old stuff in the meantime, and then it should also tell you visually that that is not the up-to-date view. Like it should show some spinner. Yeah, as for people like in VC, that I don't know. Yeah, sure, that's a different story. Although, I guess for VC, you kind of pick your poison. Either you see still them in there, and then they go away, or you see, or like you open the application, you see that there's people in it. You tab out or like turn off your phone screen. You reopen your phone. You turn on your phone screen again, and then like let's say 2 seconds later, and then you see them that they're not there anymore. Well, or rather, you know what? The correct thing would still be to show the cache data, but again, you would want to see a spinner before this information is confirmed. I think that the problem with Discord is that it's not showing you spinners. Like you could see the whole view of people in the voice channel, but then it's likely grayed out and there's a spinner on top until it's confirmed, for example. Okay, setting aside then things that Discord is not great at. Zulip is so the idea is this: there are communication channels where essentially you're expected to read every single message and want to be aware of every single message that is being sent. A Telegram chat, a Telegram, for people who don't know what Telegram is like WhatsApp, just better. So in a WhatsApp chat with somebody, you will want to be made aware of every single message. So keeping full history in your client makes total sense. So let's set aside end-to-end encryption with WhatsApp. That kind of makes that mandatory. But setting that aside, so let's go back to Telegram. You want that because you kind of are supposed to read every single message. Maybe you won't do that, but it's definitely closer to that than when you are in a Discord server. If you are in a Discord server, like a big enough Discord server, there will be a variety of channels that you really don't care about, that you very rarely join, and so that might be very active. And so you don't want the thing where, oh, I haven't opened this server in like a couple of days, and now I open it because I want to join the one channel that I care about, and then startup takes forever because your client is busy downloading 5 billion messages that were sent in the meantime in a stupid off-topic channel that you don't care about. So you can't. So you're trying to read, the important stuff, and you can't because there's like some furry furry sexting between teenagers happening in an offline channel somewhere, and there's like 10 billion messages of that kind that are being downloaded before you can see the ones that you do care about. So in things like Discord servers, I think that having the client just cache recent messages is preferable over having a full sync in practice. Thoughts on event sourcing for this type of project? Um, well, it's kind of like CRDTs. The concept of CRDTs is generally okay, but it's this big name idea that people like to throw around. But if you understand the semantics of what you're doing, you don't need CRDTs as this like very general concept, because what will end up is something that, in a sense, has some of the properties of CRDTs, but it's tailored to our use case, and it's the preferable choice rather than downloading some kind of CRDT library and then implementing operations on top of that, and then kind of kind of making it work that way. So for example, event sourcing, we are doing event sourcing in a sense, in the sense that we have these monotonically increasing IDs, which are a thing that you have in event sourcing. We are doing the thing where, um, well, in our case, we do support deleting messages, although we don't do it that often. So I haven't implemented it yet, but there is extra stuff that has to happen for the server. Well, for the server to make sure that the client flushes out deleted messages. And if we were going for pure event sourcing with the idea that you never delete anything and you only append, and you like when you want to delete something, you append a deletion notice, then we wouldn't have to do certain things. But on the other hand, then the server would really have to never delete messages, and that sucks, because for this type of application, like if somebody, you don't want to do that a ton, but if a spammer comes in and starts spamming, you want to delete spam messages, even just because they might be spamming a bunch and you just want to clean that stuff up. So again, event sourcing is a big name idea that we are essentially doing in a sense, to some degree. And then, given that we have full control over the problem space, right? We're not making a CRUD application for a customer in a, like, it's not like there's this customer that wants to do like an order system, and they kind of they keep changing the solution they want. And so we use event sourcing in general to make things work. But then, um, to make things work and also to protect ourselves from whatever weirdo ideas these people may come up with. In this case, the design is well understood, and so we're doing some things that are the same as event sourcing, but some others we are going our own way. If you're curious, I would recommend checking this document out. Fair warning, it's full of typos and grammatical errors. I wrote it the other day, and uh and I left a bunch of mistakes in there. But if you go to Awebo and then you look at the design directory, there's client server synchronization, and here I explain how I plan to make it work. Also supporting message editing and message deletion, and that's it. So I don't know, what is a recommendation that I could come up with in general. That title has a typo already. God damn it! Really? Where? Client server synchronization. Oh, this H goes before the R. Well, as promised, it is full of typos. Um, so, yeah. So this is how it works. Sorry. So what is my point? I guess what is it that I'm trying to say? What I'm trying to say is be aware, especially if you operate in ecosystems where people like to throw big ideas around. Like you're doing software development. When I used to do software development at like a consultancy company, and we were doing solutions for clients, for customers, and everybody had the most important company ever, and they needed the most enterprise solution ever. We would throw around all these ideas, right? So like event sourcing, CRDTs, there's more. What's the other one? DDD, domain driven design, right? Value objects, aggregates. Um, those are big and very imprecise ideas. And you don't want that to be the vocabulary through which you think about software. Definitely you don't want that to be the only vocabulary that you have to think about software, because it's horribly imprecise. It's like frozen meals, basically. Frozen meal can be useful. Frozen meal is an amazing achievement, an amazing technological achievement by humanity. And if humanity were to stop functioning tomorrow, and you're like, you're the only person left alive on the planet, eventually you'll have to learn how to survive on canned food and frozen foods, right? I would say probably frozen foods first, and then canned food after that, because I guess at some point all the fridges, or like the majority of fridges out there, would stop working. Um, but right, fresh food, then frozen food, then canned food, I guess. Um, yeah, but you don't want that to be the way you think about cooking. So, is this currently open source? Yes, this is the repository, codeberg.org, Awebo chat, Awebo. You can find it there. Be aware that it's horribly incomplete, though. It is open source, but like, don't expect to see much yet. We're still working on the basics. So these ideas are not wrong; they're not bad, but it's a thing that is particularly effective when you are in the enterprise software development ecosystem, which is just a tiny fraction of what you can do with software. Like, it's an important one for sure. Maybe tiny is the wrong word. Maybe it's bigger than tiny, but it is just a chunk of what you can do with software. And in my opinion, you shouldn't want to constrain yourself to just being good at that, because being good at enterprise software development doesn't make you good at software in general. Because enterprise software development is a thing that exists because there are so many horrible problems with that space. Like, or rather, there's so many problems on the business side of that kind of software development, where basically you kind of avoid doing a lot of software things to protect yourself from bad things that can come from the business side of the whole thing. So you don't want to do software that way when you don't have to. And so in conclusion, we are doing a little bit of event sourcing, kinda, but we're not doing it 100% in this case. And no CRDTs, no DDD, none of that. So client server synchronization here, if you read the document, again, which is not the greatest document ever, it's not the greatest explanation ever, but it's basically, it enumerates the things that we need to worry about, and it explains dealing strategy for each of them. We'll see. Maybe I made a mistake. Maybe this doesn't work. Maybe the only way of making it work is to do full-blown event sourcing. We'll see. Anyway, so do I want to tackle any of these things? I don't think I do. So it's 6 p.m. I think it's time for me to start thinking about dinner, because we also have a Zig meeting tonight. So I think I'm going to stop here. We made some good progress in reality. We're not yet at the point where we can do uh, client server sync, the good version of that, but we're inching closer to it. I'm thinking about nachos. In my case, I'm thinking about doner kebab. Anyway, this is gonna be the things I'm gonna work on next. Sorry, and maybe I should create an issue for message state synchronization between client server and assign it to myself so that people know what I'm working on. Okay, well, thank you all for hanging out, and I will see you next time. Let me see if there's anybody to raid. So we already raided T2 SDE. I'll send you all to Giacomo. Giacomo Cavalieri he's working on Gleam. So I don't know if people here care about Gleam. Lucas is online, is he? But under the Zig tag, I don't see anything. I think I have Lucas in my favorites and I don't see it. I'll do Giacomo. I haven't rated Giacomo in a bit. Go enjoy some Gleam and see you all next time.